A creepypasta is a short, creepy horror story which is meant to either unnerve or horrify the reader. And here are from ParanormalX our top 10 creepiest creepypastas. Number 10. Eyeless Jack. A man named Mitch moves in with his brother and starts hearing weird noises at night. In the morning, he wakes up with a gash on his face and finds out that one of his kidneys are missing. He stays awake the next night in a state of paranoia and sees that an evil entity without eyes, nose, or a mouth, with strange black substance leaking from its eyes, has infiltrated his room. He takes a picture of this horrible entity, which provokes it to attack him and try and rip his lungs out. Mitch fights the eyeless monster off and flees into the nearby forest, where he passes out. He wakes up the next morning in a hospital, only to find out that his brother has been killed by something, and next to his brother's corpse he finds his own half-eaten kidney, with strange black substance on it. Number 9. Squidwards Suicide. In 2005, an animation intern at Nickelodeon Studios and some of his colleagues receive a copy of an upcoming SpongeBob SquarePants episode for review. The episode's title card read, Squidward's Suicide, and the crew laugh it off as a joke. The episode starts off normally, with Squidward practicing his clarinet skills for his upcoming concert, and SpongeBob annoys him as per usual, which prompts Squidward to shoo him away. In the next shot, they see Squidward's concert, and notice a few animation and sound syncing errors. The concert finishes and the crowd proceed to boo Squidward, but not in a kid-friendly jokingly manner, but rather in a serious, mean way. The crew also notice that the crowd have realistic looking eyes with red pupils. In the next scene, Squidward is seen sitting at the edge of his bed, and at this point, not a single sound can be heard from the speakers, not even the static feedback, as if the speakers were turned off or broken. But after checking, the crew finds out that everything is working perfectly. Suddenly, Squidward starts sobbing and the sound slowly comes back on, and the sobbing sounds very real. The screen starts switching and a picture of a dead, mutilated young child appears on the screen for a split second, before turning back to Squidward crying, now louder than ever. Blood started running down his eyes. The screen again started twitching, and this time an image of young mutilated dead girl appeared, before again turning back to the show. The twitching and flashing happens a few more times after this, with more disturbing photos being shown, and even the show's creator Steven Hillenburg is sent to review the footage. At the end of the episode, Squidward shoots himself with a shotgun, blood splattering on the wall behind him. An explanation was never given to the crew, and the kids in the photos were never identified. Number 8. 1999. This is a pasta about a man who remembers a group of unsettling cartoons and shows which were broadcasted on the Caledon Local 21 channel during the year 1999. Some of which were Booby, a show which starred a live-action hand called Booby as a character, doing things on a plain old table. In one of the episodes, Booby and his girlfriend, another hand with a red ribbon on it, proceeded to mutilate a smaller, childlike hand, which seemed like it was forced to be on the scene. The second show the man remembers is Mr. Bear's Cellar, a show about a guy in a bear suit who would play with kids in his cellar. In a particularly weird episode, a boy older than the other kids is seen talking to Mr. Bear and telling him his sister needed to go home. Mr. Bear yells at the kid and tells him to get the fuck out, because he wasn't invited. The kid then threatens Mr. Bear with the police, but the guy lunges at him and the episode cuts out. The final show the man recalls is Soup and Spoon, which shows about 7 kids sitting around a table, each with a bowl of soup in front of them. He recognized the table as the one from Booby, and the basement as the one from Mr. Bear's Cellar. In a later episode of Mr. Bear's Cellar, Mr. Bear invites the kids watching to his cellar, saying that all they need to do is send a letter to his address. The man says he sent a letter and even received a response, after which his father drove him to Mr. Bear's address. Once there, they were greeted by the police, who revealed that Caledon Local 21 was run by a psychopath who kidnapped children and tortured them. I don't want to reveal anything more about this pasta as it is very long and is still getting updates to this day, and it doesn't really have an ending yet, but I do recommend it as it is a very good read. Number 7. Smile Dog. An amateur writer meets a woman called Mary for an interview. Mary's words make little sense, though they all have something to do with her dreams, or should I say nightmares. She was one of the 400 people to see a mysterious image called smile.jpg when it first appeared on the internet in 1992. The image contained a demonic-looking dog with a wide grin on a dark background with what seemed to be a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. It reportedly sent people into a state of epilepsy and acute anxiety. Many fake images crowd the internet, and every mention of the image of Wikipedia is deleted by the Wikipedia moderators. It is said that the real image circulated on Usenet in the mid to late 90s as an attachment to a chain email with a subject line that read, "Smile, God loves you." Mary later apologized for her behavior during the interview via email, as she explained that ever since she saw the picture, her nightmares became plagued with the creature seen in the photo, widely known as Smile Dog. Smile Dog talked to her in these nightmares, asking her to spread the word. Sometime after that email, the writer was notified by Mary's husband that she had killed herself. The writer then receives another email with the supposed real photo as an attachment, and hypothesizes what he would do if the image turned out to be real, and comes to the conclusion that if Smile Dog visited him in his dreams, he could indeed spread the word. Number 6. Ben drowned. A man known as J Disable goes to a garage sale, hosted by a shady elderly man who sells J Disable an old beaten up copy of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The next day, the old man moves out of his home. When J Disable tries playing the game, he notices that the game is very glitchy and includes many things that shouldn't be there. With time, J Disable realized that the game was haunted by a boy named Ben, who, you guessed it, drowned, and now his spirit lives inside the game, haunting and torturing the unlucky people who play it. His spirit manifests in the form of an Elegy of Emptiness statue, and commonly uses the phrase "you shouldn't have done that" during J Disable's gameplay. It is often theorized that Ben was an avid hacker and the mysterious old man's grandson. Number 5. Kendall Cole. This pasta revolves around the thread on the Net Nostalgia forum, where a user called SkyShale033 inquires if anyone remembers a kids show called Kendall Cole, which according to him ran on a local station around 1971 or 1972, and receives a couple of responses validating his claims. Another user, Jaren2005, who was a little older at the time, remembers the show vividly. It took place in Kendall Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was Calliope music constantly playing. He didn't remember the girl's name. He said it was Janice or Jade or something. Digging deeper to their memories, the users on the thread remember some episodes were very disturbing, like the one where the characters were wailing during the entire episode, which freaked some of them out at the time. The most disturbing part of the thread is when one user, MikePainter65, asked his mom if she remembered the show. She replied that she did, and that she always thought that it was strange that her son said he was going to watch Kendall Cove, and would then just stare at the TV static for 30 minutes, as she believed this was all happening inside her son's imagination. Number 4. Tulpa. A man participated in a psychological experiment to earn some extra cash. The only thing he needed to do was imagine and visualize a double of himself, while some sensors were attached to his head to read his brain activity. The double was called a Tulpa. As time progressed, he became better and better at visualizing his Tulpa and interacting with it. The two played games and had conversations, nothing too serious. One day the man was telling his Tulpa about his first date, telling him his date wore a yellow top. The Tulpa then corrected him and said it was a green one. After some thinking, he realized the Tulpa was right. The researchers tell him he just used his Tulpa to access his subconscious and correct himself. More time passed and he started conversing with his Tulpa more frequently, even imagining it outside of the research facility, as he found it cool and useful. The more he talked with his Tulpa, the more he withdrew from the real world, and at one point the Tulpa encouraged him to fight his friend over a disagreement. The Tulpa began changing, both in appearance and behavior, becoming more menacing and violent. At this point, the man stopped visualizing the Tulpa, which angered both it and the researchers, who had him restrained to a bed. Things got so bad he believed the Tulpa could hurt him physically, and had even talked about murdering his entire family, starting with his sister. Eventually, he escaped the facility and alerted the police. When they arrived, they found nothing. After the incident, the man completely shut himself off from the rest of the world on a path of recovery. One day, he received a phone call, and it was his mom telling him that his sister was killed by a serial murderer who mugs his victims and then guts them, the same way the Tulpa said he was going to kill her. Number 3. Jeff the Killer. This classic pasta starts with an excerpt from a local newspaper about an ominous killer at large. The boy in the article describes his encounter with this killer, who reportedly had devilish eyes and a wide, unnatural smile. The boy woke up in the middle of the night to see the man standing beside his bed. The man asked him to go to sleep, to which the boy responded with a scream which sent the killer into a rampage. The boy's father then intervened and got stabbed in the shoulder in the resulting struggle. The neighbors alerted the police and the maniac fled into the night, and police are still looking for him. That's where the article ends. The man described in the article used to be a kid called Jeff. Jeff moved with his parents and his brother Liu into a new neighborhood. One of the new neighbors invited the two boys to a birthday party, to which they reluctantly agreed to. One day, they are confronted by three neighborhood bullies who steal Liu's wallet, which prompts Jeff to beat them up severely and even stab one of them with his own knife. The police come and Liu takes the blame and gets sent to juvenile hall, which saddens Jeff. On the day of the birthday party, the bullies infiltrated and started an altercation, which ended with two of the bullies pulling a gun on Jeff, threatening to shoot anyone who would interfere. Jeff ends up beating the main bully to death and then tries to run away, but in the end, one of the bullies sets fire to him, and Jeff passes out as the parents try to put the flame out. This takes a toll on Jeff both physically and mentally, as his face was now burned pale and his hair burned from brown to charcoal black. Liu is released as the people from the party tell the police that the bullies started it all. To everyone's surprise, Jeff loves his new look, and his mother begins worrying for his mental health. One night he burns his eyelids and carves a smile into his face. After his mother saw this, she went to wake up his father, but he felt betrayed and gutted his parents. This woke up Liu. Just before falling back asleep, Jeff covered his mouth and raised his knife to stab it into him. Liu started struggling to get out, to which Jeff responded with, "Shh, just go to sleep." Number 2. The Rake. This is a story about a series of events which happened in 2003 in the northeastern US involving a strange human-like creature. One of the witnesses mentions the creature in his suicide note, stating that they saw him after waking up in the middle of the night and sensing his presence, seeing his form and hearing his voice, which caused the witness to commit suicide. The most interesting and at the same time the most terrifying encounter happened to one woman, who along with her husband saw the creature, which they described as a naked man or a large hairless dog of some sort, sitting at the edge of their bed. At first they thought the creature was hurt and needed help, until it quickly moved away into the hallway and towards their kids' rooms. She ran out of the room to stop the creature from hurting their children, but when she got into the hallway, she saw the creature covered in blood and her daughter Clara badly injured. The creature ran downstairs while the two parents rushed to help their daughter, whose last words were, "He is the Rake." The father died later that evening while driving Clara to the hospital, as he drove his car into the lake, and the mother now lives alone with her son Justin, forever in fear of the Rake. Number 1. Slenderman. The Slenderman is a being featured in many creepypastas around the internet. The first mention of it was posted on the Something Awful forums by user Eric Knudsen in 2009. In his post, Knudsen describes the Slenderman as a thin, unnaturally tall man with a featureless head and face, wearing what appears to be a black suit. It is unknown where he came from or what he really is, but it is known that his favorite prey is children. People who see him are stalked by him until the end of their life, or until he catches them, at which point they disappear, never to be heard from again. The most notable Slenderman sightings are the two photos cited in Knudsen's original post. The unknown author of the first one says that they hesitated to kill him, but its silence and outstretched arms both horrified and comforted them. The second photo was taken by Mary Thomas, and shows 14 children and a mysterious figure standing beside him. All of the children, along with the photographer, went missing, never to be found. So that was my pick for top 10 creepypastas. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments if you think I missed any. Also, you can find the links to all of the creepypastas mentioned in this video in the video description. See you next time on ParanormalX.